1 Timothy chapter 6.
24?
1 Timothy chapter 6. All right, so we're talking about finances, the letter F, finances. Now, I will tell you in advance, it's stepping on my toes, and you step on your toes, because all of us have to deal with finances. There's not a person that doesn't have to deal with finances or are affected by finances. Whether it be the lack of money, not enough money, the improper use of money, the lack of money. And work. And the older you get when you retire, like for us, you don't change your income. Once you're retired, unless there's a cost of living adjustment, I'm not going to get a raise. I'm not going to work any extra hours. Nobody's going to give me money to do anything. So what I have is fixed. It doesn't change unless, if you being in the VA system, if another part broke up because the Navy did it to me, they'll give me an increased percentage, and then once they get to 100%, it doesn't matter what breaks, they won't give me any more money. Okay, even though they broke me, or age broke me, or both. So that doesn't change. So let's go ahead and we're going to read 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 6. It says here, but godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. All right, so we have a journal we're going to be starting on. Hopefully you got it. If you don't, now I have it converted to pages. It's one of those, let me see, and I also converted to Google. It's a Google Doc. So I will be able to send it out to you as a Google Doc. And this is good for anybody. Yes, sir.
My wife is making copies, so
Right.
she'll do like a notebook.
She's making a few pages because we're not going to get that far in that book. But I just wanted to go over a couple of things for you. We talked about this earlier. And this goes along with this verse where it says we brought nothing into this world. Okay? The fact is you brought nothing into this world, and when you die, you're not taking one single thing out. And the question is what happens to all the stuff you have collected over the years? Okay? Will it go to the state? Will it go to your kids? Will it go to nobody? Will it get auctioned off? When you get buried, who's gonna pay for your burial? Who made the arrangements? And the fact of the matter is once you're dead, you can't tell anybody anything. It's a fact. When my mom passed away, we either had to figure out what she wanted based on what somebody told her, her will, where it was. We didn't know where it was to start off with. It was probably about 2 weeks after she passed away before someone fessed up that they had her will. It was my aunt, which was her twin. But I didn't know because my mom never told me. And how she wanted to be buried, where she wanted to be buried, all that kind of stuff. We were fortunate that someone knew that, but we literally, and my wife has interviewed her and made a video years before. And then one of the things we had to do is to find all of her insurance paperwork just to figure out, if she had burial insurance. We literally had to dig through the house, pull out every drawer, and look for all that stuff. And it took a couple of weeks, literally a couple of weeks. We were gone for about at least a month, and it took us a couple of weeks just to find all the stuff. And then after we left, my sister even found more stuff. But she didn't have a central location where she put things or any of that kind of stuff. Okay, now so on the journals, let me see if I can get to the journal. Sorry about this. Got no pages. Well, I'm only going to go on a couple of pages of that journal, so at least you kind of get an idea of what we want to work on. Sort of, we're going to call this like homework, not just to be. We're going to do the study, but we're also going to do some homework. And the reason why I'm saying this, to do this in the life journal, it's a guide for my wishes, belongings, and other matters of life. In order to do this, it's more like a continuing document because things could change. Okay, just like a will. A will needs to be reviewed every so many years. You know, your good kid might become a bad kid. You know, your aunt or uncle who was supposed to be taking care of the kids after you pass away, or a guardian or whoever you had set to take care of the kids. If you and your husband passed away, if they passed away before them and before you, and the will had their name in there, now they're not guardians anymore. They can't be, they're dead. You know, this is just reality. And a part of this journal is to help you understand about yourself. And I started mine when we first found this book. Again, I just converted over to Pages if you're an Apple person. And Google Docs if you're a Google person. And I can send it to you in Google. And Ms. Lopita will be converting it over to an Adobe file with fillable forms so that you can do it that way. And I would just suggest every day or every so many days or once a week, you and your spouse, or if you're single, because even if you're single, you have bills. And depending on how the bills are written off, you pay or your parents pay. But somebody's going to pay because creditors want money. Unless you have it arranged in a way that creditors are getting nothing. Like for instance, if I had a way to do it all over again, any loans that I would have taken out, I would not include my wife. But unfortunately, when you're married, or fortunately when you're married, whatever belongs to you belongs to her, whatever belongs to her belongs to you, including debt. It's almost unescapable. Unless you can exclude that in a way. Because I mean, if you have a $100,000 bill, let's say you did a loan on a house, and it's in your spouse's name, or in both names. The spouse dies, but that person's the only one that works, the husband, let's say. Well, how's the house going to get paid for? Do you have insurance, mortgage insurance? Do you have death insurance? Do you have property insurance? It says if you pass away, then the debt gets paid by. Do you have death? They have insurance just for you if you have accidental deaths. Okay? So do you have that? And does your spouse know about it? You know, I've had insurance on my cars, my vehicles, that covered even if the upholstery gets torn. But guess what? When I get ready to trade the car in or buy another car, if I forgot that was there, guess what? I pay for maybe $1,000 for an insurance I never used. Trust me, it's happened even more than this. And sometimes these companies set it up so that it's more of a goat rope to go around and try to get it done. You got to call this guy, put in a claim for this guy, pay people in advance, and then they pay you afterwards after you prove it. But then you find out it's not a certified mechanic or a certified repair person. And then they go like that towards the warranty, and then you don't get your money. All that kind of stuff can happen to you. But the question is, do you know everything your spouse knows about your finances? Because no one can promise you tomorrow. No one. And it's certain you're not taking anything. You're not taking your wedding ring when you die. You can, but it's just going to sit in a hole. Right? So I tell my wife when I pass away, you can take all if I have it. She's got my class ring, and she can take it back and sell it if she wants to. Or pass them on to the kids. But I'm not going to. They put me in the grave. I don't really care about that. You know, maybe my favorite tie. That'll be it. But do you have those wishes known? Does your spouse know what you know about what you want to happen to you when you pass away? Does your spouse know about all the bills? Okay? So it's certain you'll carry nothing out. So what are you going to leave? Confusion? God's not the author of confusion. And I can tell you right now, if you have no plan, there's nothing but chaos to follow. At least with a plan, as we say in the military, at least when you have a plan, it's something to deviate from. But if you have no plan, you leave your family with nothing but problems. Okay? I can't emphasize that enough. So, in the guide, if you don't have one, we'll call this homework. This is the easiest part in the first section. It's called personal records. Okay? We went over this before, but I just want to go over a couple of things more because I didn't have mine with me last time, and now I do. Okay? And I spent like all day at the doctor's office with my wife typing this in. What happened? All right, well, here's the joke. He says, you heard about the guy that had a bucket of gold and took it to heaven. And he says, St. Peter looked at the guy when he got up to heaven and says, what's that bucket? What'd you bring that up here for? Because it's basically why you bring a pavement. Of course, you know, this heaven's made out of gold, right? The street of gold. And just for reference point, it says street, not streets. There's one street. God does it right. It's not like us. In America, you got to have a whole bunch of streets, give a whole bunch of names, but there's only one street in heaven. So next time you sing in Victory in Jesus, just remember that. That was a freebie. But the Bible says there's a street of gold. Not me. That was extra. All right, so just make sure you're filling the name, but more important ones have maiden names for spouse, for your wife. Have her maiden name. Have your mother's maiden name. In this on the personal records, because these are things that identifies you, and this also helps with the legacy of your family, to know who was in the family and where they were born. So, especially even with Social Security, maiden names are very important. Okay. Retirement accounts, job status, all this is in there. Important contacts. Now, this one's a big one. Do you or your kids, especially, your spouse or your children, or closest relative that you can depend on, know who your doctor is, or even know how to find one who your doctor is? Well, how many doctors do you have? You know, because some of us have a lot of doctors. You got an ortho doc, you got an oncology doc, you got a urology doc, you got a gastrology doc, you got a lot of doctors. And what healthcare system do you under? You under VA? There are all kinds of, South Texas. You pass out somewhere, your kid's going to send you an emergency. When the emergency room comes, when the ambulance comes, you're going to say, take her to the. And you go like, well, I don't know where she goes. Take her to DHR, but she's going to South Texas. South Texas get her said, we don't have a record on her. We have to start everything all over again. Does she have Medicare? Does she have, Medicaid? All that kind of stuff. Children's names, date of birth, where they were born, things like that. And friends, who are your closest friends? I got to that section and I almost didn't have any name numbers. But I got to that section. So, because your kids may not know all your friends, right? The kids don't know all your friends. And but I noticed in the Hispanic population, friends are also called uncles and aunts, right? And then, little kids might not know the difference between the two, and then they go like, your brother, whoever, Uncle Weir, or Uncle Dad, and the next thing you know, they look it up, and I'm not really knowing. So they know the reality. And like I said before, I knew kids that I would talk to some young people, and I'd say, I had a guy come to Social Security one time in my window. I said, what's your mother's maiden name? And he just said, Mom. That's not going to work. I'm not going to be able to help you. If the only thing you know about your mom is her name is Mom, that ain't going to work. What is your mom's full name? Now, I stopped at this one. This was the next one. And it's pretty important. And you're in the life planning. Device logins. Okay? Does your wife know all your device logins or how to get to them? And do you know her device logins? I mean, cell phones, internet service, social media service. Because guess what? When a person passes away, you can put the Facebook into legacy mode. So nobody can add to it. Because guess what? There's a bunch of thieves out there. They'll steal anything, including your identity. And the ones they steal the most are people that are dead. During not the last election, but the election before that, you know how many dead people voted? Thousands of dead people voted. And in the state of Texas, there's a few voting people who are voting booth areas that are actually in jail for that. Look it up. A lot of dead people voting because you don't know how to turn off anything for your significant other, your grandparents, your grandfather, your father, your mother. And they had Facebook, like my mother-in-law has Facebook, and she just posts everything. You know, you send her something, it's going to Facebook. She might not even know what it is, you know, and kids, pictures, whatever. And then next thing you know, how you take it down. Once it's on the internet, it ain't coming off. Okay? And then somebody can screenshot it and they can just add it more to the Facebook. You put it out there online, it's online. When I say online, it's online for the entire world to see. Forever. Okay? But do you have access to tablets, iPads, Google, whatever it is, or Pixel phones, stuff like that? Not that you give it to them right there and then and there, but do they have the ability to have access to that information? Because when you pass away, there might be information. There's too much, there's a lot of information that we have on ourselves. Trust me, I have more passwords in my head. Well, not really, because I try to, say whatever. My wife kisses me all the time. But now my password monitor tells me my passwords are old passwords, and I need to update my password. I go like, but if I update my password, I'm going to forget my password. If I forget my password, I'm not going to be able to get in my phone. So that's a bad deal. But all these things are happening. So does your kids, because a lot of people do their banking completely on their cell phones. We pay all our bills online. We don't have any go write a check to pay somebody. Nothing. Okay? So when I pass away, and usually when you pass away, maybe you just flop over. How's she going to know all that stuff? She has to have access to it, or something that can give her access to it. Okay? Because when you pass away, believe it or not, for the spouses, and you're on a joint account, when a death certificate gets into the system on your Social Security number, the bank shuts down the bank account. Nobody has access to the money. Even though it's your money, you worked and you paid into the system, you paid into that account, the banks lock the account down until they settle the debt. Okay? When you bring them a death certificate, proof of marriage, the wife won't have access to the account. They lock the bank account down. It's automatic. When a Social Security number puts a death in the system, it automatically locks the bank account down. And now the spouse doesn't have access to banking to pay the bills. So that's resolved. But if you have the password and all the other stuff, and I tell people all the time, move the money to, like me and my wife have both joint accounts. We have a family account, and we have two accounts. And the reason why we do that, if something ever happens, she can just take that from the family account and move it to her account and still be able to take care of herself. While they are locking down the account that was specifically in my name. Okay? So simple things like that you can do that'll help protect your finances, especially when something bad happens. Somebody goes in a coma, gets very sick. When it happens so fast, it's too late to react. That's all you're going to do is react. You won't be able to plan. Okay? So accounts, important documents is another one. Where's your will? Where are your insurance papers? Do you know where your will is? Do you know where your insurance papers, life insurance, whole life plans, do you know where each one of those documents are? They're in a safe place, fire-resistant place, right? Does your spouse know? Do you know? Do your kids know? You say, well, at least your oldest kid, at a minimum. Does the oldest kid know where all the important papers are? How about you? But like most people keep the ownership paperwork on their car in their glove box, right? Most people do. That's okay, but is it really safe? If you don't lock your doors, because I know a lot of people like to leave their windows down. I don't know what that's all about. Car's not gonna get any cooler. I'm sorry, we're in Texas. It's just hot. Okay, so will, living will, you know what a living will is? A living will says all the things you want to do while you're still alive that you don't want done to you, especially in medical situations. Like, my living will says no artificial things to keep me alive. I don't want to be on a machine to be a vegetable. If I stop breathing on my own, then I should stop breathing on my own. Sorry. Now, my wife might change her mind and try to keep me alive. But you know, if she keeps me alive, they're supposed to give a check. So, no, I'm just kidding. If you stay alive, they keep paying. As soon as they say you're dead, nobody gets paid. Unless you die the following month, because then the money is still deposited the next month because you lived through the entire month. The next month you get paid is for the month before, so guess what? Still good. So she get one more check. If I die on the first of the month, she'll get last month. I know that's the government. They always pay the month after the month. All right, so the living will says, hey, I don't want to get artificial resuscitation. I don't want this or that. You can just say, well, what kind of things you don't want. Healthcare, power of attorney. You have someone that's in charge of your care if you're not able to care for yourself. Now, most systems and states and hospitals recognize the next of kin, the spouse, or the children. But if it's in writing, then obviously the doctors have to do exactly what your family member says. And you go like, I'm going to live forever, so I don't have to really worry about this. Right. Okay? This is practical reality. We're all going to die. Or the rapture. But since I don't know when the rapture is going to happen, and I don't even know when I'm going to die, it's kind of good to have a plan. And not chaos. Okay. So where are the documents? Do you have a will? Do you have a power of attorney? Do you have advance directive? That's more specifically going along with the living will part. Do you have healthcare power of attorney? Do we know where all your documents are, where they're located? Are they all in one spot, or do you have duplicates? Did you give anything to anybody concerning the things you want to get done with you if you were to pass away? And where are your important documents stored and located? And are they well stored? All of ours are in a fire-protected bag. It's supposed to be fire-resistant and inside of a safe. That's where all of ours are. And they're pretty much in one place. And then we have digital copies of everything. We're not perfect because our will is totally out of date. Our kids were living with us. In fact, I think our original one, we didn't have all of them. We only had 2. They're all adults, over the age of 21 now. So that tells you how old our will is. That's the second. But we have another one. But it's out of date because they're gone. They're doing their own lives. So we definitely need to update it. We had her brother taking care of our kids, and now her brother wants us to take care of his. Go imagine that. All right. So the last one, I'll just leave it this part for insurance. Where are your life insurance? Does your wife or spouse know about all your different life insurance? Trust me, that is more confusing than buying a car. Okay? Life insurance is more confusing. There's whole life insurance. There's life insurance. There's life insurance is worth money, that has value, that's taxable. There's life insurance you can even get a loan on. Okay? Do you have life insurance? Do your children have life insurance? And if you pay for life insurance for your kids, do they even know you have life insurance for them? Not only, when they talk about insurance, at least in business school, they used to tell us, if you're not making money, you're not worth money, so don't spend so much money on a person that does not make money. No, that's not nice. But everything costs, even children cost to bear. Okay, so there should be minimal insurance. My mom had insurance on me even while I was in the military. And she gave me the insurance papers later on, says, here you go. Of course, probably now they're not worth anything, but because normally most of those insurance require you paying all the time. And in my younger age, insurance person used to come to our house. If they take the money. Knock on the door once a month. I think he got half the pay, so he came by everybody's house and just collected the $20. And that's how the insurance company works. So when they didn't show up, you didn't have insurance. Right, and my wife was reminding me, you have insurance, even when you have insurance on your kids, it can help for future investments for them, especially if you start it. It is an investment. Insurance is not just, it's going to take care of you, but it's also an investment for them. They can actually have cash surrender value for a lot of insurances. So that's something to think about, okay? So where are all those things at? We'll stop there. I would say the last thing is health insurance. Just remember what kind of, and this is most difficult. My mom, when she got sick, trying to figure out the health insurance thing. And I worked at Social Security, and I didn't sell any insurance, but I had to do Medicare. And I'm telling you, next to life insurance and whole life insurance and all that stuff, health insurance is probably the most complicated thing there is. The sad part is they save it until you're really old. And it's the worst, hardest thing to figure out is health insurance. What's covered, what's not covered, who the company is, what you can use it on, what's it good for. Then you find out, hey, it's health insurance, but it's not dental insurance. They're not the same thing. You go to the dentist with your health insurance, unless you got a big old, Part G and all that stuff insurance, guess what? They're going to say, where's your health insurance? Your dental insurance card. And if your teeth are falling out and they're killing you, they're like, well, sorry, I can't help you. And because the dental insurance actually has drugs, prescriptions to go with it. So you can't use your health insurance to take care of a prescription if it's dealing with dental. Now you don't learn all that stuff until it's usually whenever you stand at the window and say we can't help. So I'm giving you advance notice. Health insurance and dental insurance are not the same. Okay? And you want to make sure, especially if you have parents, because you're going to be taking care of them. Believe it or not, you're going to be taking care of your parents, brother or man. You're going to be taking care of your parents. That's just how it works out. All right? And you're the oldest, right? So guess what's going to happen? They're going to get older. When they get older, they're going to need more help. Are you going to be able to help? The question is, are you prepared to help? You know what insurance they have? What it covers? What you got to pay for? Because they sometimes say you pay 20%. 20% on $100,000. Okay? Okay? So health insurance is important. Make sure you know where your parents' health insurance plans are. Okay? What they're covered by. All right, so moving on to the topic at hand. So, we read that verse. Let's go to Luke chapter 16, verses 10. I believe we read that already. We filled in the blank. True riches. We're on page 94 in your books. Okay? Page 94 in your books. It says true riches, and we talked about this already. According to the verses, Luke chapter 16, it says, according to verse 11, we cannot expect the Lord to commit to our trust the true riches if we have not been faithful in the areas of finances. Okay? In the areas of the responsibility of being a good steward of what God has given us to manage. God has given us a responsibility to manage things. It starts off with ourselves. When we were single, if you're single, or if you're still single, managing yourself. Okay? But the finances is important for anyone. I mean, you really can't even drive down the street without knowing the finances. You know? You can't put gas in the car unless you know you got money to put gas in the car. And I remember back when I was a young sailor and I had my first car, it was a 1981 Volkswagen Jetta. I thought it was a cool car. It was used. My mom says when you buy a used car, you buy somebody else's problem, and she was right. So I bought a used car. That's all I could afford. My car payments were $145 a month, and my insurance payments were almost $400 a month. Because under 27, young sailor, I was a high risk. And insurance companies, I'll pay more in insurance. So there was times where I had to decide. Should I put gas in the car? Should I fix it? Or should I pay insurance? I have to pay insurance. I ain't going nowhere anyway because I don't have any money to drive it. I can't put gas in it. That's finances. I was in the negative. My little military pay was about $600 and something a month. And I got $50 in seat pay. So obviously, $600, $400, $145. And if the car breaks, it ain't getting fixed. Or I have to fix it myself. So I did a lot of DIY repairs. So me and Volkswagens got to be the best of friends. I learned everything about that car. It was such a sad car because every time I started that car, well, I didn't start it first. The first thing I would do is I'd go out to the car and I'd look at it, see if the wheels were still on. I'm not kidding you. And if they were hot, because then when you know if the CV joint was going bad already, the bearings. Then I would open up the hood and I'd look in there and see if all the engine was still in there and all the parts were still attached. Because sometimes they would just kind of like fall apart. Then I'd check the oil. Sometimes I'd have more oil than I started off with. Because the fuel injectors were leaking into the engine and going into the oil pan and giving me more oil than I started off with. Then I would know I need to change the injector, but injector was $200 per injector, and I had 4 of them. So they're like, nope, car's staying. I got to make an insurance payment. So like, at least look at it. That was me at the age of 20, trying to keep a car on the road. So then after that, I bought 9 more Jettas because I was a Jetta expert. I could fix a Jetta. I could listen to it going down the road and say, man, I know exactly what's wrong with that Jetta. It needs a brake. If the brake caliper is bad on that one right there, it's sticky. I'm serious, I was so terrible. I would drive my car with the windows down just so I could listen to what broke off or what didn't work. The noises it was making. Muffler dragging, muffler boom, 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 boom underneath. And it wasn't because I had a good stereo. Okay, I'm just saying. That is finances. Okay? So the aim of this class is the aim of financial freedom. But I guess you could say the second one part of it is to learn more about end of life or life decisions, about what you're going to do and what you want to plan for the future for your family and how to take care of it. And I'm telling you, you're not too old and you're not too young to have a plan. Okay? Because you do not decide when you're going to go. Okay? You don't decide. God does. So having our finances taken care of and having our plans as far as where everything is, what our goals are, what our desires are, what we want to get done if we were to pass away is important. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you, my wife will tell you, I don't like talking about dying. Okay? I like talking about living. I'm the guy with the bowl is always half full. Never half empty. Always happy. Okay? So that's me. All right, so the first goal is to be rich towards God. It should be our motive, to be rich towards God. Not necessarily what happens to us, but that is what God's goal is for us. So let's turn to Luke chapter 12 and Luke chapter 12, starting in verse 15. And he said unto them, take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consists not in the abundance of the things which he possesses. So it's not about what you have, who has you. Your possessions are just that. Things God has blessed us with. Okay? It's not the things that take over us. So, goal 1 is to be rich towards God. Verses, we'll read a little bit. And this is a parable. I'm sure some of you read this parable before, starting in this verse. It says, and he spake a parable unto them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do, because I have no room where to bestow my fruits, all my goodies, all my man things, all my man cave is not big enough. And he said, this will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, thou hast much goods, laid up for many years. Take thine ease and eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasures for himself, and is not rich towards God. That's an important thought, right? So that's why it's important to prepare, because you're going to die. It's going to happen. Or you're going to leave. And we get raptured out, I still want some people, at least somebody, to have some of the stuff. Because I don't want the Antichrist to own my stuff. You know. And then on the other side is, how are we living? Does our life point like we're living for ourselves, not for the Lord, not for the help of others, the encouragement of others? Because we're living one way or the other, for ourselves or for Him. It's one of our choices. And that is the big part of our motivation for how we ought to take care of our finances. Our finances should point towards God. Okay? So, I won't go too much farther, but if you look at number 1 on A, gold, it says, this parable of a certain rich man was given as a warning against sin, the sin of covetousness. I want. I see it, I want it. I see it, I want it. They have it, I want it. I just want it. Don't need it, but I want it. The big difference. I want it, or do I need it? No, there's things that you want that you can have. And if you can pay for it, you could have it. There's nothing wrong with that. But if it's because somebody else has it, or because you just want it because you want it, and you will take any risk, pay any price, even though you don't have the price, the money to pay for it, that's sad. Now, I will tell you, I bought plenty of things that I never ever used. Because I thought it was great to have it. I don't know how many Dremel tools I've owned in the past, or, special tools. Tools I wanted, and then I go like, man, I would love to have that. The commercial looked good, and then I end up never using it. We had a treadmill. We had many treadmills. So I got to the point where, you know what, I don't use no treadmill. We even found a treadmill on the street somebody was getting rid of. Took it home, fixed it, and I used it maybe about 4 or 5 times. I'm like, this is not going anywhere. Treadmill, not going anywhere. So I got rid of the treadmill. I gave it away to somebody else. And that, I don't know, that's just me. I'm just letting you know. Covetousness is a big deal. It's probably the biggest crutch of what destroys our finances. It's covetousness. Now, I'm not telling you that because I'm a great guy and I don't have a problem with it, because I am. I'm not telling you anything that I am not struggling with on my own. Okay? Finances is a big one. Okay? Most people say they want to leave their children or give their children something when they leave this world. And we all say that an education, a godly education, is one of the biggest goals of a parent, is to leave their children, right? That's what we say. But half the time we leave them with debt and confusion. I would hate to say this, but my dad passed away, confusion. A lot of family. Nobody knew exactly what needed to be done and who was. Yeah, we made it happen, because that's how it works. My mom passed away, same thing. Lots of confusion. Okay? I'm telling you, you don't want to leave your children with confusion. You don't want to leave your parents with confusion. There ought to be. God had a plan. He has a plan for the entire existence of mankind from beginning to end. All we got to do is do a little plan for 7 years, give or take. Okay? So if you haven't had a chance to get a copy of the first section of the End of Life Journal. Please either let me know, I'll email it to you, send it to you via Google, if you're an Apple person, through Pages, and again, Sister Lupita's working on the other one. So let's go ahead and close in prayer. And it's important. Just reading the thing, I would just read it first before you